So, let's begin. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the session Prepare and Plan Your Transition from Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM. My name is Matthias Biegert, and I'm part of the product management team for SAP Cloud ALM. And the goal of this session is that I take you through a journey how a transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM could look like, and what kind of assets and material SAP provides to support you or your customers in this journey. So every journey or every SAP project starts with a discovery. So it's what you are doing here is you discover the product, you understand the product, and you do a kind of transition planning to SAP Cloud ALM. That's also the first phase in the Activate methodology. And then in the next steps, it goes over into projects. It could be one project. In Activate, terms from prepare, explore, up to run. Or it could be also multiple projects. For example, a project for operations, a project for implementation. Or even more projects. We come to that a bit later. And this methodology is described in the Activate roadmap, which is called SAP Activate for the transition to SAP Cloud ALM. Let's have a short look at that roadmap. I go to the roadmap viewer in SAP for me. It takes a while, but I think I also have it opened. That's SAP for me. Here's the Activate roadmap for the transition to SAP Cloud ALM. You see here, let me select all phases. There are all phases, all Activate phases described here for the transition to Cloud ALM. You see here it's quite crowded, so it should be a full-fledged of activities and deliverables which could be necessary for the transition or for a transition project. And if we go, for example, in the prepare phase in a deliverable like data migration approach and plan, you see beneath the deliverable, there are the tasks which are necessary to achieve such a deliverable. And everything is described also in text, the tasks as well. And of course, there are accelerators assigned to such a task. So it's very much the same as you might know it from the Activate roadmaps for the transition to S/4HANA, for example. And this Activate roadmap could serve as a basis for the transition planning, regardless if it's now the discover phase or if it's a project phases from prepare to run. It should serve as a basis to guide you or your customers through this transition to Cloud ALM. Now let's have a look in the various phases. Let's start with the discover phase. Here first of all, it's described the first steps with SAP Cloud ALM. So a customer should understand what SAP Cloud ALM brings for the company. So discover the value of SAP Cloud ALM, it's mentioned here. And it's a bit about getting familiar with Cloud ALM. Cloud ALM is different to SAP Solution Manager. There are a lot of items which somehow or which definitely work different. It starts with setup and administration. It's about users and authorization. That is done differently in SAP Cloud ALM. API strategy. How does SAP deliver new features to SAP Cloud ALM? There are no support packages anymore. There are no new releases anymore. You might be curious about the data center strategy, usage rights, a lot of things to get familiar with if you start a project with SAP Cloud ALM. And then it's already time to get the Cloud ALM tenant. That's rather simple compared to other SAP products. Go to SAP for Me and push a button that your Cloud ALM tenant is getting provisioned. If you then move on in the discover phase, it starts with a transition planning. And here the first step is the readiness check. The readiness check was mentioned a couple of times during the ALM summit. Also in the presentation, the customer presentation of Carvo, the readiness check was mentioned. So basically the readiness check analyzes the SAP Solution Manager system and highlights which capabilities are currently in use. Those capabilities are mapped to the follow-up capabilities or the equivalent capabilities in SAP Cloud ALM and provide some more information on those Cloud ALM capabilities, including links to the roadmap. So in case a capability is not yet available, it will tell you if this is in the vision of SAP Cloud ALM, if it's already on the roadmap, or if there are what we call friends of SAP, other products and services from SAP, which take over that functionality. There are also two special dashboards in the readiness check. One is regarding the usage of change request management. Here the background is if you want to transition change request management to Cloud ALM and you don't have only one landscape but maybe 5 or 10, and there are even customers who have 100 landscapes which are managed with change request management, then where to start? So it analyzes what is the traffic on the systems, which functionalities are used for a certain landscape, so that you are able to draw a plan, what is an easy system, an easy landscape to start with, and what is a landscape where you might want to wait a bit longer until you start transitioning it to SAP Cloud ALM. Then also in the session with Carvo, the colleagues have talked about the selective data transfer. Also here the readiness check provides some insights into the documentation which was created in Solution Manager and helps you in scoping the data for the selective data transfer. And then it's probably time to do the one or the other pilot, simply to try out functionality. Not in a productive use yet, but simply activate health monitoring for a system and understand what kind of data is collected here, what is the difference to SAP Solution Manager. Another proposal is maybe manual testing. So if you are using test management in SAP Solution Manager, try it out in SAP Cloud ALM. Where are testers working? Where are the test managers working? How do the colleagues working who are creating test cases? It's probably a good idea to simply try it out. It's not a lot of effort to simply understand how does it work in SAP Cloud ALM. You might have participated in the hands-on session of colleagues of mine from Amanda and Christina. They have created a document which describes step by step how you could set up a proof of concept or a pilot for manual testing in Cloud ALM. And this will be released soon also on our support portal pages. Then the transition planning, that was kind of the pre-work. That's basically defining what projects are necessary to complete the transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. And here I have an example. It could be a first step is probably the transition of the operations capabilities. That's process-wise a bit easier than implementation capabilities. Probably Cloud ALM is a bit more mature in the operations area. That could be a first project. And also the speaker from Carvo also said or has given the recommendation, yes, start with an operations transition. Then maybe a next step, if there are isolated ALM processes in SAP Solution Manager. For example, maybe you're only using manual testing in Solution Manager. Do a follow-up of the prototype and move manual testing to Cloud ALM. Another one is, there is an implementation project planned for the next half year. Why not using SAP Cloud ALM as the ALM tool for this new implementation project, for a new system, and not covering and not taking care about the ALM processes which are currently running for other landscapes in SAP Solution Manager. That's a brilliant opportunity also to get experience. What does it mean working with SAP Cloud ALM? Then it's about the productive ALM processes for a productive landscape. So basically what we have called in Solution Manager the fix and enhance pace. So how do you manage fixes to a productive landscape, or how do you manage enhancement requests, enhancement changes to a productive landscape? And why not starting with an easy landscape before you focus on landscapes like a productive ERP system or productive BW system or whatsoever? What about the Solution Manager landscape itself? In a lot of customer cases, the Solution Manager is also a 2-system landscape or a 3-system landscape, including promote to production. Also there are changes. Why not using SAP Cloud ALM to manage the ALM processes for Solution Manager itself? Is a good starting point into the fix and enhance. And we know that a lot of customers have exactly started like that. They have started with the Solution Manager landscape as a first landscape for the transition. And then probably the last one is the transition of the remaining productive end-to-end ALM scenarios. So again, most probably regarding fix and enhance again. And this could become complemented by more pilots or prototypes, either as a pre-work to a project or as part of the project. Then it goes on with the prepare phase. Here's a selection of deliverables which you find in the roadmap for the prepare phase. Oh no, before I come to that, sorry for that. What I also would like to highlight, there are, with this Activate roadmap, we are covering operations implementation, so implementation of SAP Cloud ALM for operations, but also the implementation of Cloud ALM for implementation. And there are tasks and deliverables which are only relevant for the one or the other project type. For the implementation type, it doesn't matter if it's about using Cloud ALM for a new implementation, for a greenfield implementation, or if it's about the transition of existing ALM processes. So again, fix and enhance to SAP Cloud ALM. But what is recommended, and we have tagged those deliverables. So in case you are doing a project for operations, it makes sense to simply first select all implementation tasks, or all tasks which are only relevant for implementation projects, and simply put them onto not relevant, so that they are out of the roadmap and it's a bit more handy to manage the content in the roadmap. When I say put them on not relevant, I assume that you're also using SAP Cloud ALM to manage the roadmap. But if you want to import it to another tool, you could probably also here scope the tasks of the Activate roadmap. There's also a blog describing on how to do that. But now we come to some selected deliverables in the prepare phase. First of all, there are a lot of project management deliverables inside. Also here, decide what is appropriate for your project. There are small projects with probably less project management overhead, if you will. But there might be also bigger transition projects which certainly need certain project management. The content is inside. I have to say we have taken that from the Activate roadmaps for S4. That is no ALM specific content. It's generic project management content. Here we describe an initial planning or initial scoping of the selective data transfer. So to have a high-level understanding what assets which you have created in Solution Manager are really relevant to be moved to SAP Cloud ALM, that you have an idea, are we talking about 100 documents or about 10,000? And then we are talking about a fit-to-standard analysis preparation. But that also means that we are talking about fit-to-standard, like you know it from the business suite of SAP in SAP Cloud ALM. And for that, we need, of course, best practice processes, the standard processes. And you might have seen that in the keynote of Michael Klöffer, the product management keynote, who has shown that, I think Frank was it, he has shown that in SAP Cloud ALM. But what I want to show you is how you find them in the Signavio Process Navigator, also in SAP Cloud, in SAP for me. If you go to Solution Scenarios, and then you scroll to the very end of the list, there is a solution scenario which is called Tools and Technologies. And here you find two solution processes, one for the selective data transfer. Maybe Axel will talk later about that. And the other one is an implementation project with SAP Cloud ALM. And here there are various solution process flows for the processes, for the best practice processes in SAP Cloud ALM. For example, here in testing, you see here the process flow, the BPMN diagram. And what I also want to highlight, there is even a process flow for fix and enhance. But keep in mind that there will be some changes. You might have heard colleagues of me talking that there will be a new fix type, or that there's a new fix type blend for SAP Cloud ALM. When this is released, we need to adjust those best practices. If you are aware, or if you are familiar with the best practice processes for S4, for example, you know that there's also a kind of a process description. In S4, it's called test case, which describes in detail how to run, for example, through a sell from stock process. We don't have that test case description as such, but what we have for SAP Cloud ALM is a best practice description. That's we offer that on the support portal. That's for now a pretty big PowerPoint presentation, but which shows step by step how to run through the implementation process in SAP Cloud ALM. This This best practice document is available for various products. It's available for S/4HANA Public Cloud, for Private Cloud, and for cloud applications like Ariba or the Intelligent Spend Network. What we will do in the near future, we will release a new version where we cut the document in different chapters, in smaller documents, so that it's more handy for you to consume them. I think currently it's really more than 300 pages, but it's really a description how you run through the ALM process. If you like those slides and you think that could be a good basis, for example, for an end-user documentation or for training material inside the project, there's an email address on the support portal. Send us an email and request the PowerPoint version. Then you will receive the PowerPoint version and you can adjust the PowerPoint to your needs. Now, let's go on to the Explore phase. In Explore, the Activate roadmap describes the actual execution of the fit to standard analysis. Keep in mind that the fit to standard was developed for the implementation of business software. So probably for ALM, it's a bit less heavy, let's say like that. For operations, we don't have best practice processes. Also, what I've just shown you, it's only the implementation part of SAP Cloud ALM. Nevertheless, we describe in the Activate roadmap a deliverable which is called Operations Design Analysis, which is simply describing the activity to understand which capability is to be implemented in detail and how does this fit into the operations processes and the operations tooling inside an IT organization. So that is described here. It's a kind of also design activity for your operations processes. Then based on the outcome of the first two deliverables, it comes to integration and analytics planning. So basically, if there are requirements towards integrations or analytics, that should be discussed and further specified here. Data load preparation, it's basically the first steps with the selective data transfer, and it's about test planning. So developing a test strategy for this implementation project. Important to know, there's no need to test SAP Cloud ALM itself. We are doing that on a daily basis, but if you want to set up an integration, for example, that's something which need to be tested. Maybe there's also a kind of end-user acceptance test. That are topics which should be worked out in this task or deliverable. In Realize, the next phase, we are talking about sprint planning and execution. That's simply the actual implementation or configuration of SAP Cloud ALM. Sprint sounds like there's a lot of activity. That really depends on the project. Maybe that is done in one day, a couple of days. Maybe that is further effort. For example, if we talk about customer-built integrations. Then testing, the actual test preparation and execution is in the Realize phase. Data migration, either the real data migration in terms of selective data transfer or more likely a rehearsal of the selective data transfer. And then cut-over planning. So how do you really move productively from Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM? That is, of course, not relevant if you're using SAP Cloud ALM for a new implementation of an SAP system. But for example, if we are moving productive ALM processes, that's probably relevant. And don't forget about end-user training. Also here it depends, is it only a couple of people in the IT who have to be trained about operations? It's a minor effort, most likely. If it's about the training of 100 or more people using ALM processes in terms of processing changes, doing documentation, doing testing, then it's a bigger effort. So don't leave your end users behind. Deploy is quickly told, it's the actual cutover. And the run phase, yes, there is ongoing operations, but also here Cloud ALM is operated by SAP, so you don't need to operate the tenant. But for example, if you have built integrations or any extensions, the operations of those is with you. And then there is a deliverable, we called it product roadmap management. That's basically describing to set up a process to monitor regularly the product roadmap of SAP Cloud ALM and also the what's new page. So to understand, is there functionality coming which has an impact on my end user, or a positive impact because it's additional functionality, or if there is functionality announced which has somehow an impact on my further project or rollout planning. So that's something you should keep an eye on, not on a daily basis, but maybe once a quarter, really to think what has SAP delivered and what is SAP planning to deliver. And also here, think about your end users. If there is a good feature shipped by SAP, actively notify them. Here, dear testers, there's a new functionality, you can now this and that. And what we also mentioned here is join the customer influence. If you realize, oh, there is a certain functionality missing, or you would benefit from a certain functionality, please place a customer influence request. Share it with other customers, let them vote, and we will look at those. With that, I'm nearly at the end. I've here summarized a couple of links which are helpful for the transition. That's the transition planning at the transition center, where Ben is collecting all information which is somehow relevant. I also put the link to the product roadmap and the activate roadmap, so in case it's hard to find them. And with that, thank you. Thank you for your attendance and participation. And I think we are close. We have 1 minute and 45 seconds for questions. Otherwise, I will be outside. And I'm curious about questions or comments. Thank you.